Aloha ohana, this is Kumujina Iwalani Nalawai. I'm here at Ho'omana Spa on the island of Maui, and I love gathering here together in this way, even across the globe through these different ways that we can communicate online to really wrap the arms of aloha around the globe. I think more and more people are opening to revisiting some of the ancient medicine that we used in our medicine basket in indigenous cultures throughout the world. And it's so exciting to see that now we can bring all of those teachings forward and share them in this way. So the first story that I want to share with you is a story about a seaweed, and the seaweed is called limu kala. This limu kala is for us the seaweed of forgiveness. It's like the seaweed of ho'oponopono. And before I share with you about that, I really have to give honor to my Auntie Mahilani Poi Poi, who had a vision of seeing Hawaiian medicine going all the way across the globe. So she was a kahuna ha'aha'a and also a kahuna la'aulapa'au. So her grandfather was as well a kahuna la'aulapa'au, which is a master of Hawaiian medicinal therapies. And so her grandfather would come to her in dream time. He would show her different formulations of plants that she could put together and would reveal to her, even in dream time, what those needed to be used for. Eventually, Auntie took all of those downloads that she received in, dream time, spirit time from her grandfather, and she took them to two men who have a company called Bioponic. And this company, what they do is they take the plant matter, they put it in these giant distillation Bunsen burners, and they put all of the plant in water, and then they boil it down. And as the water evaporates, it goes up into this top of the still, and it gets captured, the molecules of water carrying the plant essence, which is like 2% plant matter and 98% water. So it's really absorbable. It doesn't interfere with any medicines that you might be taking. It's great for babies, for elders. So it was a really wonderful way of bottling this up. And then they would allow that evaporated condensation to go and be cooled, and they used this for medicine. And it was a way for Auntie to have her hydrosols, distillations of the plants that they could bottle, and she would give it out to all of her community when they'd come to community clinic. And we can also send it across the ocean, which was her vision of just really, like I said before, spreading the arms of aloha around the globe. And one of the ways that she wanted to do that was through her beautiful plant medicines. So before she died, she said that she was going to bring forward 252 different formulas. And when she passed, there were only just over 20 formulas. So since that time, the boys, Steve and Ami Shore at Bioponic, have made a whole product line for moms that they can use in the home with their children for teething and for colds and flu and for all kinds of things. They've also made a whole flight and in-flight package that people can use that are traveling. For instance, like Olena, that they have in a formula that you can actually put up your nose so that you don't dry out during the flight, and also it's antibacterial. So they have a lot of different formulas that they've brought forward. I also, together with Chucky, brought forward different healing mists that we sell here in the Hawaiian Spa Boutique. And this was kind of a mixture. So in Hawaii, we call that hapa. So it was a hapa mixture of a Western essential oil that people recognized with Auntie's Hawaiian herbal medicine. And I thought that this would be a wonderful way for people to receive the mana and the essence of the plant in a form that they could use for spraying rooms, spraying themselves, for scent linen sprays, and they're so incredible. So I just mahalo Auntie for the legacy that she brought forward. And the last one that Checky and I decided to make was limu kala. Limu kala, like I said, is the seaweed of forgiveness. And that's the energy of the plant. So many plants have different properties that they can support with physically, like all seaweed is detoxifying, for instance. But all of our plants also have properties that are for other aspects of our being, the spiritual emotional body. So this one is for bringing balance or pono or alignment back to the spiritual and emotional bodies. And so we distilled this formulation. And one of the classes that we had a few years ago, we took the students to bioponic farm, which is where they could see all the plant medicine being made. And that's one of our exciting things that we do with students is really, I love having a living classroom where we can be in the class and outside of the class. So we went there and they were distilling the limu kala. And so it just happened that the class that we had just finished was our advanced Ho'oponopono embodied course, which we dive deep into Ho'oponopono teachings of being in spiritual alignment with yourself, with others, and with the divine. And also, it's a class where we do what we call forehand lomi, where two therapists work on the body. And it's so amazing because really you have to work together in a way that maybe you've never done before. Some people are used to working solo on the body. Some people are leaders. Some people are followers. And yet you have to be all of those, receive, follow, and lead during this sequence while still synchronizing your breath, synchronizing the technique, and remaining in alignment with your intuitive guidance of listening to the body as you work. So it's an amazing class. And this student shared with me that the very first day of class, after he got off the table receiving all these hands, loving touch on the body, that he felt really nauseous. And, I said, well, that might be just a detox reaction. Maybe you should go home and drink some water and see how you feel. And he said he went home that night and the nausea didn't go away. And at a point, he even felt like he needed to dry heave, but nothing came out. So when he told me that, I was thinking, I wonder if what you're experiencing is not physical, but maybe spiritual and emotional. So I had that going on in my mind. The next day, the very same thing happened. Again, he got really nauseous. And the last day, we had gone to the farm. And so when we got to the farm, he had shared in that morning circle that he realized that he was not comfortable with touch, and that having gone to massage school, that it didn't ever occur to him to the extent that he had something that was unresolved that had to do with touch. And how interesting that he had found himself in massage therapy school, where basically you're massaging and receiving massages for the whole year that you're in school. And so he said, and it's making me question everything, like even questioning what I'm doing in this profession. And so he'd shared that morning. And then that afternoon, we went to the farm and they were distilling the limu kala. And everybody got to try some. And it just happened that everybody was done trying when it got to him. And he tried probably 5 times more than anyone else because he was the one that had the last bit that was in the cup. And so he probably had like a whole ounce of this amazing plant medicine. And so he went home, and the next day he came back to share, and it was profound what happened. He went home, and this time he felt even more nauseous than before. It was so intense. He said he was dry heaving and felt like he needed to throw up. And as he was sitting there going, what is going on with me? It all came to him, the whole story. So when he was a child, he and his sister stayed in the same room, and they were like on a big king bed. And it just happened that one of the caretakers that was there through part of their childhood would come in and would sexually molest his sister while he was sleeping. And this story didn't come out until much, much later. And when the story came out later, when his sister was a teenager, he just felt so ashamed and so guilty and like wished that he had been there to support her, and wondered what he would have done if he would have woken up, and how that might have made him feel. Would he have been scared? Would he have been able to do something? All these questions going through his mind. And he had kind of just stuffed it down, and he was holding on to that. And at the same time, he was getting ready within a week to welcome his child into the world. And I think that's one of those time encapsulated lessons when all things come together in order that we can heal this thing that we're carrying, in order that we can move forward. And for him, he didn't even realize how much he was still holding on to that guilt and shame and pain of that experience, and how all this touch had brought up those emotions in him, and how he was holding actually a deep fear of how he was going to be raising his child in a world that sometimes isn't safe, in a world that sometimes you think is going to be. And he knew that he was having a baby girl. And so that was even more for him, just brought even more things up for him. So what this Limukala did was actually, through this course of that moment where he realizes, wow, I'm not comfortable with touch. What is that? Then takes this Limukala, which really forces him into taking a look at what's going on and only taking the responsibility for the things that are his, which is, why am I still hanging on to this? And I don't want to carry this forward into my new life with my child. And so he was able to, through the Ho'oponopono process that we had learned, do some work around that, and the following week welcome this sweet baby girl to be her protector, to be her guardian in a way that, maybe he may not have been able to do before with what he was carrying. So that's Limukala, and we do have it here. We have it distilled. It can travel across the world, and it's very, very powerful, magical medicine.